Hi, good morning. I'm Miss Rachel. I'm going to review some strategies for reading books with your children. We're going to go over the different skill levels and what you can do to support them, and I'm going to give some examples from the books. We don't go by age, so we don't say a 3-year-old should do this, a 4-year-old should do this. We go by where they're at, by their skill level. And the only way to get better is by practicing. So if your child still isn't really into books, the only way they're going to be is by practicing little by little. And I know that everyone has a lot to do right now, but if you can't do anything else, read to your kids because it helps them increase their vocab. It helps them increase their problem solving, their inferencing, their reading. There's a lot of things that they can get from books. So what we do with children that really aren't interested in books is you start with the pictures. You don't even pay attention to the words. They don't care about the words. They don't want to listen to the words. They just want to look at the pictures. And you start by that. And what you do is you start by just pointing. You look at it and you start just by pointing. Where's this? Where's that? You start pointing and you start modeling for them. So just the typical where's the dog? Where's the mom? Where's the ball? Things like that. And once they start being able to point to those, then we start going by their attribute or their function. So saying, okay, where's something blue? Where's something that's a circle? Where's something that flies? Where's something that we eat, that we use to eat with? And then once they can do that, we move to what doing questions. So what is he doing? How about him? What is he doing? Who's running? Do you see someone sitting? Things like that. And you can also ask them to show you their favorite page. They can do all of that without having to talk. And then once they are talking, you can move to those what doing questions. So I'm going to show you our first example here. You can see they're at the table there. You can just say, point to something that we can eat. What is it? Point to something we can use to put our food in. Point to something we sit on. And then what is it? Point to something that holds all of the plates and the tablecloth and the food. The table. So once they point to it, then we label it and we give them the example. But all of that they can do without having to talk if your child isn't talking yet or if they're just not super interested. But at least they can be interactive and they can be touching them. Then we have this page. They have some chairs. So then you can also ask with a little bit more detail and say, where's the broken chair? So there's 3 chairs, but which one's broken? Where's the baby bear? Again, there's 3 bears, but only one of them's the baby. Or find something yellow. She has yellow in her dress. She has yellow on the chair. Or find a circle. Their eyes, the buttons, on the chairs there's some circles. So there's different ways that you can challenge your child even when they're not super interested in books. This is a funny book, one of my favorite books. So here we have this, and you can say, where's the hat? Where's the plant? What is it? Where's the tool? What do we use it for? Have you ever seen one of those tools before? Have you ever seen anyone use it? And we'll go to, oops. Oh, I forgot to say, a really good, you see me taking all my Post-it notes off. A really good strategy is when you read a book, write down the questions you want to ask and then stick it on the page, because when you start reading a book, you forget about everything that you wanted to say and everything you wanted to ask. So a lot of the times teachers will make ourselves little Post-it notes and put it in there, and then when you get to that page, you remember, oh yeah, I wanted to ask them about that, or oh yeah, I wanted to point that out. So it's a really good way. It doesn't have to be on a Post-it note. You can write down a piece of paper, whatever. Stick it in there, and then when you get to that page, you remember what you wanted to ask them. So here he is. So what does he have? Have you ever seen one of those before? What do you think it does? Why do you think he's using it? And it's okay if they don't know the answer to those, you just model them. So those kind of go into the next level of questions is once they're able to sit for longer and be pointing to things and pay more attention, then we start asking those more basic questions using the pictures. And we say, where are they? What are they doing? Who is that? What is that? Why do you think they're doing that? Look at his face. How do you think he feels? How would you feel? And And then asking them their favorite part of the story and why. You know, does it make them laugh? Do they like the character? Do they like what the characters are doing? What is it about that makes them like that page? So this is a funny story. This is Knuffle Bunny, and it's about a little girl who doesn't talk yet, and she has her bunny, and Dad takes her all over the place, and they end up leaving the bunny at the laundromat. And on the way home, she's getting upset, but she can't talk. So they finally get home, and the mom says, "Where's Knuffle Bunny?" And there's the dad, you know, and so you can just ask, you know, look, you know, how do they feel? How does Dad feel? How does Trixie feel? Look at their faces. Why do they feel that way? What does Trixie want to say? So having them put the words in and explain what's going on. And this is a nice book because, you know, she can't talk, so they really have to put the words in and kind of advocate for her, like, Dad's not listening, he's missed this. Another good type of story are repetitive stories. So there's a whole bunch of old lady books, and she always eats stuff in order, and then at the end she spits it out and makes something. There's a lot of different books too. I mean, whenever you're reading, and if you notice that the same phrase is happening every other page, those are really good books to invite your children to say those phrases, because by the end of the book, then they can say it with you, and they can learn that there's that repetitive pattern in the book, and feel included. These books are nice because she eats stuff, and every single page it goes over what she ate, and it keeps just adding it and adding it and adding it. And at the end, you can put it in order. What did she eat first? What did she eat next? What did she eat after that? And keep going. It's also nice for children to see that we use books for information. So this is a book about recycling, and it's just nice to realize, you know, some of the nonfiction books. So there's a jar, you know, we're cleaning the jar out, and now we're using it to hold pencils. You know, we had an old box, and now we're using it to make something with an art project. So if you want to learn about something, you know, maybe you have books that you can get information from, but it's also nice just to find books and show them that we can learn things from it. And then later, like, oh, you want to do that? You want to use this? Oh, yeah, remember how when we read this book, we learned we can reuse things? Look, you are using what you learned. And kind of just having them realize, oh, look, we learned that information from a book. Another thing we have from books, some books like the Froggy series, and I'll show you 2 examples from here, is they use the letters as a way to accentuate how we read it. I'm going to show you an example, and it's nice to help them realize that. So you can say, look, you see the lines coming out of his mouth, and look at his face, and look at these letters. They're all uppercase. They're all capital letters. Why do you think that is? What is he doing? Oh, he's yelling. That's how the author shows us, or the illustrator shows us, that he's yelling. He puts it all in capital letters. Or if we look here in this book, I'll translate it. It's Achoo! Why do the letters go from small to big? What did I do with my voice when I read it? So just helping them realize that it's accentuating how loud we get, how loud we read something. And for children that are now sitting and listening to the story and listening and answering questions, you can kind of point that out and help them realize that that's what they're doing. So for the higher questions, we can now ask them, you know, after you read a book, how would you change the ending? Or what would you do if you were in the story? Or after you finish the book, what do you think happens next? And make a story about what happens after the book is ended. Or let's add a character to the story. What do you think the character is going to do? How is he going to change the story? Or have them ask you questions. So those are all some things that you can do with the stories. And, you know, look in here. You don't even have to read the pages, just looking at their faces. What's going on here? What's going on? You know, it looks like they're mad, and it looks like he kind of looks sad. Do you think he did something? Do you think something happened here? Who did it? Using all those inferencing skills. And, you know, it looks like, maybe he burned them. So you can tell that he did something wrong without even reading the page. This is a book, one of my favorites, Dragons and Tacos. So basically, a little boy loves dragons. Dragons love tacos. He invites them over, but they can't eat spicy salsa or they'll catch on fire. He forgets one of them. They set the house on fire, and then they rebuild the house for him. It's a very cute book. But after you read it, you can ask him, you know, what should he have done different? How could he change what he did? What would you have done? What could you do? And then afterwards, after you've read it, you could make tacos and make a list of what they want on their tacos. This is what the dragons eat on their tacos. What do you eat on your tacos? After you read a book, it's always nice to do extensions of what they did. So here's this guy, and he's doing a treasure map, and he's looking for stuff. So after reading this book, you can hide something in your house, and then you can say, okay, I'm going to give you a map, and you're going to go around your house, and you're going to find where it is. And then here we have, here's the cover. We're not going to even read the story. We're just going to look at the cover. Look at the cover of the book. I'm going to read you the title. So this is The Big Bubble. What do you think the story is going to be about, just by looking at the cover of the book and the title? And then make some guesses, and then see if you're right when you go inside the book. And something else that I'm really going to try and find for you guys, but I think it's at my work, is a simple bookmark. So here we have the smile is for the characters. Who's in the story? The house is for where does the story happen? Are they at home? Are they outside? Are they at the beach? Are they at the park? Where are they? And then there's 3 dots. So tell me 3 things that happen in the story. The boy went to find his mom. Then he found his mom. Mom was stuck somewhere. It ended with him saving the mom and going home. And then the heart is what was your favorite part of the story. And this really helps because it helps children understand that there is a predictable pattern in books and that all books have people. They all happen somewhere. There's always events that happen and they always end. And then the favorite part is just helping them reflect and go over the story so that they can remember it and pick out their favorite part. This will really help them when they get to kindergarten with answering questions and retelling stories, because it helps them see that there's a predictable pattern in books and that every single story has these components and that they can pick those out. This also really helps when they want to make a story. So if you get your crayons and your paper and you have them sit down and make a story, you're going to ask them, who's in your story? Where does your story happen? Tell me 3 things that are going to happen in your story and how's your story going to end? And it helps them, since they already know from many, many different stories the order and how, and have lots of ideas from this, then they can start organizing their thoughts to make a story. Because sometimes kids just kind of draw stuff and they bring it to you and you're like, what'd you draw? And they're like, I don't know. And that's normal. It's completely normal. But the more you do this, the more it's going to help them organize their thoughts so that when they draw you something, you're going to start seeing that you're like, oh, who's in your story? Well, now instead of just saying who's in your story, that's a really abstract question. But if you use this visual and you've used it with the books, now they know what you're asking. Oh, mommy's in this story. It helps them connect it. If I can't find this is something really easy. You can just, make a happy face, a house, 3 little dots, a bow. It's something you can draw. So if I can't find it to include, at least, you can just make your own. And it is a really nice tool to use with your kids. And I hope that this has been helpful. I couldn't really read the books because it would take a really long time, but I tried to give some different examples of questions and strategies, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.